Rohit Chandgiri, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
So whether some people are still to join or we can start.
Raghuji, can you kindly confirm? Should we wait or can we proceed?
We can go ahead. There are very few people who to join. Hope we can be able to pass on the message. Sorry, 97, 89 people on the board. So hope all our
Okay, so we will start. At the beginning, I request that all people to just mute their mic so that there is no disturbance and right message goes to everybody unless they have to speak. In this CSR preparation workshop, I welcome all participants, all ULBs from Andhra Pradesh, along with the state officials and CPHEEO officials who will be speaking, especially Rohit Kakkarji will be speaking regarding this strategy that after that Rohit Chandgiri will be on CSE. Ashish Sharma, that one CSE that and other my colleagues Satish Kumar, and here I would like to inform that the urgency or let us say priority for taking up this access funds and use water management getting it is now monitored at the level of NGT and Honorable Supreme Court through Ministry of Jal Shakti. They are also doing, and we are seeing here from at several instances every now and then, even in smaller ULBs also, if used water is not properly treated and disposed under in backyard of somebody or even in some pond or water body, lot of PILs are also coming. So considering, please Mr. Pernulla Venkaiah ji, please switch off your mic. So this is the context, and another thing I would like to mention that under this Swachh Bharat mission, total government of Andhra Pradesh allocation is 1412 crore. That is close to 1500 crore. Out of that, some 700 crore, 50% is only for used water. This is a newly added component under Swachh Bharat mission. Earlier only solid waste and some extent toilets and CTPT, IHHL, these things were only there. But now this used water management has also been included and substantial funds are also there. So because of that, it becomes very important. Further, in addition to this Swachh Bharat mission, there are funds available. There, please mute your mic. Everybody, I request that please mute your mic. Organizer, please mute everybody mic so that nobody else are.
కూల్పనికి వచ్చినట్టు ఉండాలి. విషదానంగా అతను ఎవరు నీకు? నువ్వు ఏదో చెత్త కలసం తెచ్చేస్తున్నావు అని చెప్పి లోకో కానుతుందా? నాకు అంటున్నా ఫోన్ నేను తెల్లారితే 5
Yes, please.
Ramana garu. I'm just give me 2 minutes, sir. I'm just trying to find the person to.
So okay, we will continue, no problems. Slight some disturbances may be there, but I was mentioning, apart from Swachh Bharat Mission, where 50% funds are only for used water management, under 15 Finance Commission also equivalent to whatever allocation is under Swachh Bharat Mission, similar allocation is available there also. If you see, for sanitation only I am talking, because somewhere close to 1200 crore funds are available over 5-year period for this sanitation and used water management related things. So substantial funds are there. If a particular scheme in a city, considering local condition, is properly designed and implemented, the available funds are more than sufficient to provide a very robust sanitation. And also, if some portion or some outer area, if somehow left with coverage with robust network, even that can be taken up subsequently in incremental manner. But what is important, that we have to start in a planned manner by making proper plan, and then whatever gap analysis is there, out of this gap we have to prepare DPR, and accordingly after SLTC approval, that has to be forwarded to Government of India for release of funds. So here we have been, as a CPHEEO, we have been hand-holding states in faster preparation of CSAP, City Sanitation Action Plan. And earlier the normal procedure has been that states sometimes they used to engage some agency to prepare, and after that maybe tendering and further checking, all those things have been there. That was consuming substantial time and resources. This time CSAP we have prepared in such a manner, in a very objective manner, that most of the information is available with urban local body only. They are custodian of this information. So once that information is properly filled up against available columns under this CSAP, that is for 3A and 3B, that is 3A for toilets and 3B for used water management. Under those let us say parameters are some of the items. If this is information is properly collated, then gap analysis will automatically come, and out of that gap analysis, project preparation can be done depending on availability of resources. This approach will not only economize the project cost, but would also save your projects. And please everybody switch off their mic. A lot of disturbance is there. Everybody please just check your mic should not be on. Mute your mic. And just listen for few time. After that, hours are there together to speak. In between, please don't discuss. So in this case, the approach that we have adopted with 7-8 states, where already with our help they have been able to prepare. That is in case of Odisha, even Gujarat, Uttarakhand, and now we have engaged with Assam, this Jammu Kashmir, Leh, and also some other states, Chhattisgarh also we have done. So in this case, I request that if proper small groups are prepared at let us say mission directed level, 2-3 people only to guide remaining ULB, and they can be in touch with us. So within few days we will help to prepare 2-3 CSAP, and following that all ULBs can prepare within a week or 10 days. And to go about it, I request the state mission directed that a dedicated WhatsApp group should be there of all ULBs, where concerned ULB officials and also PhD are those people who are responsible for sewage management. They should also be there. And once they start working, in case there is any doubt, they can put on WhatsApp group. Our people, Mr. Rohit Chandri, they will be spontaneously or very quickly responding to query, and we will also be there. Like that, it can be done very quickly at your end itself. And I request that in next.
Sir, you are on mute. Sir, you are on mute.
Yes. Okay. So within next 10 days we will be able to prepare all these CSAP without any help, and all is this has another advantage that in the course of preparation, all ULB officials also will have let us say general knowledge about the sewage management schemes and others, so that will be added advantage that they will be involved in selection of technology, then how to manage, how to operate, and even what is the skill requirement, so that ultimate objective of sustainable service delivery can be achieved. This is our goal. So accordingly, we are proceeding. And in last one point, I would like to highlight that in case of used water management, the state sewerage engineers should also be involved so that they can see the zoning of the scheme or siting of location or general slope, considering potential of treated water, that can be properly cited, because if that gradient and other natural benefits are not taken into consideration, it is likely that ULB will be bleeding service delivery. So with this, I request that state mission directing on it, and in next 3-4 days we will again meet, and at that point of time, if any requirement is there, any doubt is there, we will in mass again try to discuss and remove those doubts. So this is our roadmap we are proposing. Before we are coming to CSAP, I request Rohit Kakkarji, he will give in a very brief the strategy that is adopted under SBM 2 for used water management. This is slightly different from conventional. That's why all state engineers, they must listen it, and this is in need of keeping in view of and requirement of a smaller ULB. So if schemes are not prepared in accordance with that, it is likely that will not be approved. So this become very important, and if state works in this manner in next 8-10 days and DPRs are prepared within this financial year, we have within this quarter itself of financial year, we have ready funds available and we can release, because I understand that some of the projects with Andhra Pradesh is already ready. So with this CSAP, they can be slightly aligned, and then with SLTC approval, they can send and the fund can be released. So this is our roadmap. I request now Rohit ji to just take over and explain about the strategy under SBM2. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chaurasia. I think the host has disabled screen sharing from the participant. So Rohit, you'll have to allow me to present my screen.
Rohit, I'll be giving you the host access, so you can give me once you're done, sir.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, maybe, we'll be covering the background of what is expected under the Swachh Bharat 2.0, SBM 2.0, as far as used water management or the wastewater management is concerned. Now, we understand that you are also very professional engineers and town managers at your own end. And under SBM 2.0, the used water component is being handled only for the smaller towns, which have got a population of less than 1 lakh. As you understand, that Amrut scheme, which is already on since 2014, and even prior to that, the JNNURM was there, in which the larger towns, the capital cities and the bigger metro areas of the country, they were provided with assistance, financial as well as technical assistance, to improve their used water status. But for the first time ever, this component has been included for the smaller towns, and in which the SBM 2.0, almost 2/3 of the overall budget outlay for SBM 2.0 deals with used water management. However, because the work is, as we understand, because of our past delays, the requirement is much more. So very judicious method of spending needs to be adopted. And that is what I'll be talking about in the next 15 minutes as to how this SBM 2.0 aims to complete its objective. What is the objective of SBM 2.0 as far as used water management is concerned? If we just go to this slide, the targets are that all towns will become ODF++, and 50% of the towns should become water plus. Now we understand that ODF++ is only dealing with management of your septage, right? And 50% of towns have to become water plus. That means the water, which is the used water of your towns, that needs to be managed in at least 50% of the towns. And what is our strategy is that in case we manage this for at least our class 2 and 3 towns, which maybe 50% of the smaller towns in the state, or even lesser than that, at least 50% of these towns will have a proper waste use water management system in place. And the aspirations of the town dwellers, the people who live in these towns, who are because these are not small towns, class 3 and 2 towns have got a population of more than 20,000. So there are a lot of people, there are schools, there are clubs, there is everything. Everybody wants to aspire to be having a good life, so their aspirations will also be met. On top of it, one of the objectives of SPM 2.0 is that there should be a mechanism so that we can start reusing the water which has been consumed by us in course of the day, and which had been supplied to us in very pristine condition. Very good quality water was supplied through municipal resources, and now this water has been, after one use, has been discarded. So this should not be allowed to continue, because it has got a big financial implications. So this is the target part. And on top of it, there is, Dr. Chorasi also touched upon it, that the highest courts of the country dealing with the environmental angle, both the Supreme Court as well as the National Green Tribunal, have been very strict on the issue of the pollution being caused by the used water to our water bodies. So under this, a lot of orders have already been passed, penalties have been imposed upon cities, and it is going to become stricter over the coming years. So with that background, what we understand and what we try to see when we see Andhra Pradesh, definitely there are huge towns. This map is definitely old, because it didn't have that separation of class 2 towns in Andhra and Telangana. So some of these towns may belong to Andhra Pradesh, which will be dealing today, the class 2 towns, and these are to be tackled. Okay, now I will not go into the techniques and the technology and the purpose of the used water management or sewage management. Everybody understand the basic purpose is pollution control, and secondary purpose could be that we want to improve the reuse potential of our water. And one of the options which everybody is aware of is the on-site system. The on-site system has got its limitation, and if you want to get into details of it, we can have a separate session for this. But rest assured, every engineer knows that the on-site system has got major limitations, and the major part of the water, which is the grey water, if that does not get collected for treatment, then we are actually losing out on a big resource. So I'll just skip through my this presentation part, which deals with the technology, and straight away come to one part, which is when we say fecal septage management. In the last 5 years, when we had SBM 1.0, or the initial 5 years of the SBM, fecal septage management has come up in a big way. Now understand, in SBM 1, there was no angle for used water management. It was only that the toilet should be constructed and at the least possible cost. And for construction of those toilets, the simplest system which could have been adopted, was permitted, was a septic tank system. And to manage the discharge from the septic tanks, the fecal septage management was one of the elements of used water management, only to deal with a very small quantity of fecal septage. But now we are talking of the used water management, which is a much bigger scale and a much bigger scale. So this septage management has got its role, but it has got a very limited role. So this, if you go through the FSSM policy, it is very well covered in that also. So this is part of the overall used water management strategy, but it is not an alternative. It is somehow, in some areas, there was a, you could say, doubt that this could be an alternative. Right. So now coming straight to what is the strategy for SPM 2.0, because we understand after interacting with the cities and states that one of the major concerns about having a city-wide sanitation coverage, basically the piped network or the underground drainage or the sewerage network, was the element of cost and inconvenience. Inconvenience definitely is there, but any good development, like in Delhi, metro came up after so many years, the metro train came up, Hyderabad also is having that. So that inconvenience will definitely be there, because in case there's a retrofitting of any infrastructure, there'll be some inconvenience. Second element is the cost. So when we analyze the amount of funds which are available to us under SBM 2.0 and the need for making a high degree of sanitation coverage in the country, request mute. There's somebody who's please.
1811, please mute yourself. 1811. 1811, please mute yourself.
Satish Kumar is
Okay. So some of the engineers and experienced town administrators would understand that in past, whenever, especially in the bigger towns, when we talked about giving sanitation coverage, citywide sanitation coverage, what was being happening was that we would say that whatever is the overall area of the town that needs to get sewered, and we were covering the entire area of the town, which would include the denser areas, which definitely are in some parts of which are more densely populated, areas which are very sparsely populated. So what was happening that the cost of putting this network in the sparsely populated areas was much higher per capita basis, because the pipe length is the defining factor for cost of sewerage. So that was one concern. And second concern was the planning horizon for the sanitation infrastructure, both the sewage treatment plant as well as the sewer lines, was for a 30 years future. So once you design for a 30 year future population, it will be at least 2 to 3 times. Having to spend that money,
Everyone else.
Rohit sir.
Diane, please mute yourself.
1811, please mute yourself.
The control can also mute that.
Rohit sir.
This slide is important, so I just want to request your attention here. Okay.
Rohit sir.
Thank you.
Can you mute all the other contestants?
Right. Thank you. So I hope I am not muted. I am audible?
You are audible, sir. I request you to mute all of this.
Okay. Do that.
Sir.
Right. I'll just continue. So what we are trying to say that in the conventional approach for managing citywide sanitation, the network cost was a major defining factor, and also the design horizon, because it was understood that as far as we know, even our manuals would say that you design your sewage treatment plants for a population which is 30 years in future. So you put the money now for the population which is to be reached 30 years in future, and in the larger towns, definitely the growth pattern was almost defined, but smaller towns, that growth pattern is not defined, because some small towns may grow, the other small towns may not grow that fast. So in SBM 2.0, our philosophy is that number one, we will not cover the entire city. We'll try to save on the cost of sewer pipes by only covering a core zone of the city, which is more densely populated, because density implies that for the same length of pipe, more people can load their sewage onto that small length of pipe, and that's with that the cost of pipe per person would be reduced. So that is one basic strategy. And second is the design horizon will not be 30 years in future, because with the modern technologies, decentralized system, we can design for a small period in future, maybe at the end of SBM 2.0, 25, 26, whatever is the population at that time. You only design your sewage treatment plants and sewage pipes for that population. So these two philosophies, you could say, we proceeded ahead, and I'll just take it to explain it like this: that this core zone is densely populated, because each town can have, there are fringe areas which are much less, or they are sparsely populated. And then there is the central area or the core area. It could be not exactly a circle or a triangle or a square, it could be of any shape, but which has got a higher density of population. So what needs to be done is that we identify such an area where 70% of the town's population resides, and hopefully with approximate 30% of area. right? So it is, so we save on the area. So the density of the town becomes, this core area becomes more than 2.5 times of the average density of the town. And we ignore the fringe areas. We do not lay pipelines in the fringe areas. They continue on the septic tank systems. But in the core area, we try to cover as many residences as possible. So what is to be done? That first of all, we design the sewage treatment plant for the current population. Like I said, maybe the population which is expected to be reached in the at the end of SBM 2.0, which is 27 in the year 26, 27. Do not design for 30 years in future. Second, in the core area of the town, try to connect maximum premises. Maximum means do not have to connect every premises. There will be some premises which are in very tight, confined streets. And those premises, if they are on septic tanks, you allow them to continue on the septic tanks. Only connect those premises which are possible to be connected through a sewer network. So with this, we expect that almost 50% of your town's population, that is out of the 70% who are residing in the core area, 70% of this 70%, that means 50% of your population will be connected to a sewer network. Now, this sewer network and this STP, the trunk sewer length should be minimum, because one of the major elements of cost could be the length of the trunk sewer. Your town may be only 5 kilometers in diameter. If you're going to take the sewer 10 kilometers away, trunk sewer 10 kilometers away, it is going to be a costly issue. So minimize the trunk sewer, maybe to a few hundred meters from the core area the STP should be located, right? So with this mechanism, 50% of your town gets the discharge reaches the STP through sewers. Now, second part of this philosophy is the other areas which are not connected to the sewers and in which the open drains are carrying grey water and part of the black water or the sludge, that those open drains, before they fall into any water body or is lost into a marsh, they need to be connected to an interceptor sewer system. So from with this interceptor sewer system, this diverts the entire flow of these open drains to the same STP we have designed here. So this STP is designed for the current population of say around 70 to 80% of the town's population. And now this interceptor takes the water only in the dry season. When the wet season is there should be a bypass mechanism. So in the wet season during the rains, the interceptor does not convey the sewage to the STP, but it gets bypassed. But in the dry season, which is almost 9 months in the year, these major drains, the discharge in the major drains is diverted into this interceptor sewers to the STP. So with this, the grey water or the sludge in the outer areas is also diverted to the same STP. Third is that for the unsewered houses, because like we explained in the previous slide, there are these unsewered houses out in the fringe area. Also, there will be some unsewered houses in the which are in the very congested space in the core area. So with these 50% of houses which are unsewered, basically they are on on-site sanitation. For these unsewered houses, you need to do septage management. So what needs to be done is that septage has to be collected from on a periodic basis from these houses and is taken where it is taken to the same STP. You do not have to construct a new FSTP, but you have only constructed a STP which is only around 80% of the population in the year 25 or 26. So what is happening, if I have to summarize, that 50% of your households which are in the core area, they discharge to this STP through the sewers. Then the major drains, the sludge which is being carried in the major drains, that gets connected to this same STP through the interceptor and diversion system. And thirdly, the septage from the septic tanks of the unsewered houses, that is also transported by vehicles to the STP. So with this mechanism, most of your sewage and the sludge and the used water of the town gets managed. So this happens now. When your town grows further, in case your town starts growing, then at a certain time in future, maybe 10 or 15 years in future, for the unsewered areas, also through a decentralized approach, when we find that another pocket has so developed that it can also be considered as a core zone, a secondary core sanitation zone, then we can create the same mechanism for the second area also. So this is the basic design philosophy. Right. So the core sanitation zone, like I said, that you design an irregular shape in which 70% of your population resides, but on only 30%. So these are approximate values. It could be 75%, 65%, but this is the idea. This is the approximate density which we are expecting. Right. But, then we have said that households which are based on septic tanks within core sanitation zone, but which are possible to connect to sewerage, only those should be connected to the sewers, rather than taking too much of pain to retrofitting or in getting the very houses from the congested area connected to this sewer, because that will have a big cost implication. We do not want to have a major cost implication. STP, I said, cited the size to around 80% of population, and so sewer is only to connect 50% of the households. So this is the concept of the zone, core sanitation zone. In the out areas which lie outside the zone, you still continue to enforce the fecal septage management system and provide, because one major problem which we have seen is that in our country, most of the places where even septic tanks have been provided, the soak pits were not provided. So you have to improve, because the ultimate aim of used water management is environmental pollution. So if you are polluting your groundwater, then again it is going to become a major issue. So wherever soak pits are not there, so the town looks into those houses which are not able, which you are not able to connect through sewers. Those houses only you need to now provide proper soak pits, if possible, within the premises of the house. But because these septic tanks and soak pits are usually provided in houses which do not have space, so if space is not there, then a community level soak pits can be at periodic intervals can be provided by the municipal body, to which all households connect their septic tanks without allowing the water to fall into an open drain or into the groundwater. Third, the surface drains which are carrying the grey water in the dry seasons or the mixed water, they need to be repaired, so that entire maximum, not entire, but the maximum amount of this sludge can be transported to the interceptor diversion drain. The IND system should not be so cost heavy that each and every small drain needs to be connected. Do not have to bother with that. Only the major outfalls of your city, they need to be connected to the IND system. Maybe in a population with a town with a population of around 70 to 80,000, a class 2 town, maybe 2 or maximum 3 such points would be there. So with that, maximum should be under gravity. In case required, one odd place, you can have a pumping station. So with that, the IND, that is the kind of IND system which we are anticipating. So this, I've already covered this, that the basic cost advantage to the municipal body is that we are not laying sewers in the less densely populated fringe areas. The cost per person of that sewerage is reduced. So the cost of sewerage gets reduced. Second is sewage treatment mechanism facility for 30 years. Just in time investment is there. You're not investing for something. So this is a couple of advantages. The other advantage is to the householder who may be constructing his house in the coming years in your jurisdiction. And in case he wants to construct his house, and if he finds that there are sewers, he just has to connect his household, his toilets to the sewer. Otherwise, he will be take his own arrangement for septic tank and co.
Janvi, please mute yourself.
We are able to mitigate the environmental pollution, as well as we are taking maximum amount of used water to a sewage treatment plant where it can be treated properly and it can be made available to your town for secondary use. So this is the issues which we have discussed. Just showing pictographically, one of the sub-concept was interceptor and diversion. Like I said, there could be 2 or 3 such interceptors. Not all your drains need to be tackled, but 2 or 3 such points are there, and then that thing gets treatments now.
Janvi, please mute yourself.
If you have a sewage treatment plant, you do not have to bother about any additional FSTP. Even if 50% of your town is based on FSTP, even 25% spare capacity in STP can easily take care of the discharge from these septage discharge from these premises. So you just have to bring your fecal septage from the vehicles to the STP and drop it at the inlet, which is definitely has to be properly managed. So this is one. Third is, like we discussed, that you have to have some improvement of the drains. So these drains should be pakka where possible, so that the sewage water is not lost into the surroundings and marshes. And at certain intervals also, you need to provide with this screens, so that solid waste which is flowing in these drains, that gets arrested. So this gets seen. Then what next is there? Last point we discussed was, because of a lot of congestion, there may not be space to provide soak pits after the septic tanks in the household premises. So in those cases, some community level soak pits should be provided by the municipal body. So these are the 4 issues which need to be tackled. From the central share for the smaller towns, I think 50% central share will be provided for few components, which is the sewage treatment plant, including the facility to co-treat septage. So any additional work which is required for septage management in the STP, that can be co-financed from the central share. Then the IND system, including pumping stations, etc. And another component is these vehicles, which I'll cover separately. However, at the same time, it is expected that the city or the state, through the 15th Finance Commission or their own resources, also contribute to construct the sewer networks to strengthen the municipal drains. So major element of your contribution would be in the construction of sewer network. Others are very small issues. So we will just have a small, couple of slides on this. But before this, whatever I have just spoken, I'll just again show some pictorial representation. This is a hypothetical town, a town of population 1 lakh. So what we are trying to say, that if you see of the map, so when you're preparing your CSAP, you can just see of the map. If this is my town boundaries, you can see the town boundary in red like this. So if we have even on Google, you can see that this appears to be a core, more densely populated area. So in this town, this becomes the core sanitation zone, which is more densely populated. So out here, so this becomes a core sanitation zone. So if I cover this with sewers, and I provide us STP at a close distance, and I provide IND system to cover the sewage which is flowing in the other areas. So with reasonable investment, I'll be able to discharge. Last point we'll discuss is the cost of this. So our assessment is that as per the or 2022, an investment of around 8,000 is required for giving a full-fledged sewage treatment facility, including network and the plants to any. 8,000 rupees per capita is required. However, at this moment, at an average, Dr. Chaurasia will be explaining, I think later, is that there are 3 components of funding which we anticipate which are available to us. One is the central share, which is around 16,000 crores, and that means for class 2 to 6 towns, ₹1,500 per person is available. Second is that there is a 15th Finance Commission availability. So that is at an average will be around 1,200 rupees per capita in class 2 to 6 towns. And third is that we are also requesting the states and the ULPs and the private ventures, they also contribute from the local resources. So even if they contribute 1,200 rupees per capita, so we expect that around 3,900, 15 plus 12 plus 12, which is 1,900 rupees per person would be available to us. So if we are designed for a town of 1 lakh population, so our requirement would be 39 crore rupees would be required, will be available to us. Whereas the requirement for the same population as per the HPHEEO would be around 80 crore. So we just have around 50% of funds which are available to us. So this is where our expert advice comes to you, that when you look at sewerage, number one is that you provide sewerage only in the core zone. That is definite, because if you waste your sewers in the fringe zone, you will not be able to meet the cost. Also in the core zone, only use the less costly pipes. That is the RCC MP3 pipes or the double wall corrugated plastic pipes for making your sewers. Do not go for very expensive pipes like DI pipes and such things. So if we are able to use this, and we got the SORs of various states, so we have checked against SORs of various states, so it will be very much possible to lay a reasonable sewer of good dimension at around 40 lakh rupees per kilometer. But if we go for very expensive pipe, because the maximum cost of sewage is in the cost of pipe itself, then the cost of sewage will become very high. Because as you see, more than 50% of the investment, even now, with the less costly pipe, is towards the cost of putting the sewer network. So please try to use these kind of pipes which are readily, easily available in this country. Second, for the STP, again, there are various technologies, various systems which give only marginal improvement this way or that way. So number one, do not design your STP for very long future, for 30 years in future. Number two, try to connect make it as small as possible for around say 70 to 80% of your current population, or that is a population in 25-26. So for that, your requirement, if you provide a very cost appropriate technology, and these cost appropriate technology does not mean that it is some inefficient STP. These are very much efficient systems, and very much required for small towns where the space constraint is not too high. So if we use this cost appropriate technologies, then 1.1 crore rupees per MLD is a very reasonable cost. So for a city with a population of around 1 lakh, if the total requirement of covering 70% would be around 7 MLDs, so you can have this this STP system in place for around 8 crore rupees. Then we discuss the IND system to cover the sullage from the fringe areas. And for that, you do not have to make a moat around your town. Just see where is the major slope of the town and which are the major drains. So try to connect only 50% of the periphery through this IND system. So within this 50% of periphery, if you connect for a town, typically we expect for a 1 lakh population town at an average, the investment would be around 6 crore rupees for the IND of 12 kilometers length. This, and when we are not going to, we will be requesting that do not connect every small drain which is passing through unless it is possible to do so through gravity. So 2 or 3 or 4 intakes, and then the IND takes the water to the STP. Other investment required for, like we have discussed, improving the soak wells, making the drains, improving the open drains, and some other provision of bar screen in these drains so that the solids get arrested. So for this, a lump sum provision of around 4.5 crores has been made. So with around 39 crore rupees, which we have, we'll almost the entire class 2 and 3 towns with a very high quality sanitation infrastructure. That could be possible. These for sewage treatment are many. We'll not discuss, but you can take guidance from Dr. Churasi and other experts, and they'll tell you what is the what would be the most appropriate technology. Last component which we need to discuss is that there is some funds for procurement of desludging equipment. It's not only vehicles, it could be any kind of equipment like this camera machine or the pumpings and the jetting machinery. So all those things are available in case they are to deal with desludging as well as managing of sewers. So this needs to be done. However, when you put across your demand to the SLTC, they'll have to prove that the private sanitation service operators are unlikely to be available in your town to undertake such tasks, and the engagement of the operators, the machine operators and the drivers, etc., will be another issue which will have to be managed by the state of the QLB from some other resources. So if that is assured, then this money could be availed from the central share. Again, it's a 50% central contribution. So this is how the SBM 2.0 framework looks like. I'll hand you back to the next speaker for SLTC. For the yes, Rohit, you are taking over.
Yes, sir. I'll take over from here. So please make me host.
Excuse me, sir. I do have a doubt. Could I ask it, sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, Rohit, sir, as in, sir, Rohit, sir, or Chaurasia, sir, I have this doubt that the cost for STP that you have shown is 1.1 crores, like the best possible rate. Is it inclusive of the GST that we have to hold?
Would get it. Can you give the last part of your query? What was the last
Sir,
part?
like the cost given is 1.1 crores, the very reasonable rate. Is it inclusive of the GST and the taxes
Yes,
in
from our
Relevant
side,
taxes.
this is included everything, because whenever we are making payment from ULB side, there this GST is exempted, and I'm making payment from that government side. So whatever is indicated, that is whatever is indicated, this is a estimated cost 1.1 crore we are mentioning. But whatever fund will go under SBM, that fund is inclusive of everything, no, nothing above that GST or anything. So this should be clear. This is whatever is given 1.1 crore or 2, this is inclusive of everything, and that is the estimated cost. Over and above, nothing to pay, right? Even that is on higher side, it has been taken, but considering the condition that variation may be there and we should be on safer side, that's why it has been taken, right?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
So the point here is most of this, when we are coming up with the cost, designing of STP, should we consider used water management under tax component or under exemption component? That is what the question is from the person now. Hello?
Yes. I think उसमें थोड़ा सा, because that clarity you have to see from that GST guidelines, because that level may we have not checked from here, but all we can only mention कि this is total, that is मतलब for estimation purpose, and when we are estimating, if it is inclusive of GST, that also become, if exempted, that also become, because there is nothing separate over and above. But as we see in any of the estimates that is released to any contractor, I think that is inclusive of wherever applicable GST also. Otherwise, in other cases where it is going to some, I will say, government body or private as a first one, some cases may it is exempted. So that clarity, I think you have to see from that guideline. We otherwise we have also to check that, because that level of things in DPR preparation we see sometimes it is inclusive of what we are sanctioning, but in award के समय में some consultancy and other, that is over and above. So those things you have to find out for release purpose. Whatever is indicated, that will be there.
Sir.
Sir, we have gone through the mega exemption guidelines issued by tax department, sir. So it states that all the pipeline for water supply, sewerage, and treatment plants are exempted. But we do not have a clear-cut clarity on is it exempted under SPM mission, because there were other schemes like Rajiv Awas Yojana and all. So SPM was not there, so that is why we are having this doubt.
Sir, if you write a mail to us, we will further discuss and clarify clearly, because as you are mentioning, some point of time, few years back, this also came to our notice that Government of India in previous budget, some 4-5 years back, if pipe is being purchased for municipal use, there it was exempted. But right now, those things we are not very much aware. If you write a mail, then we'll be in a better place to clarify, right?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you very much.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, Rohit Chandgiri.
Yes, sir. I'll be starting in a minute.
Rohit, are you facing any difficulty in sharing? Rohit Chandgiri? Rohit Chandgiri, you tell, make more than one host. Why only one host and all other are muted? At least those people who want to speak, उनके लिए तो we have to be open, na?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yes, some option will be there. Give them host right to government official, state government official, and also to our officials also, right?
Sure, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So can anyone confirm from the AP state that you are able to view my screen? Okay. So, as you all know, the City Sanitation Action Plan comprises of two templates. One for toilets, the other template, that is 3A for toilets and 3B for used water management. So, coming to the first general information of 3A template, that is toilet. So in the general information, location and physical aspects comprises of regular questions. So name of the city, district, state, municipal area in square kilometers, class of town, number of wards. So this information is straightforward. And geographical description, if it is hilly or environmental eco-sensitive zone, or if there is a near river passing by, mountainous town, so you can give that specific information. In the maps, so map depicting administrative boundaries. So it's a map which gives the boundary of the town along with other important features. So that can be uploaded here to give the reference of where the town is and what are the give the general idea of the town. And if topo sheet is available, you can also upload it. So this is something that you can directly get it from Survey of India. Survey of India online. So this is you can type the map, you can type it on the Google, and you can register it and you can download the map, and it will be shown by my friend, colleague Ashish. So coming to demography and growth pattern. So this is an idea of a map to show the boundary, as well as this is a map which comprises of ward maps, for instance. And this is the example of a topo sheet. Now, coming to demography and growth pattern. Here you can specify the information of population, latest census data, that is 2011. And if you have information of latest population, you can mention it. And coming to the population projection, you can actually use population projection methods that are mentioned in CPHEEO manual. The first part. Otherwise, you can take 2.3% as annual population growth rate, and you can take it as reference, and you can calculate the population. Coming to the next information data point, that is slum. So what is the slum population? You can get the details of notified and non-notified slums, population, households, and the population density of slums. So if you can get it, you can obtain it by dividing the slum population by the area comprised of slums. And area of slums, this is something you can also, if you don't have information, you can capture the information from Google Maps. Non-slum population, again, so leaving the rest of the town, you can add the population, households, and similarly you can calculate the population density. So floating population, it is understood that not many towns are tourist towns, so you may not be having this data. So therefore, you can take a small percentage of it. If you have information, excuse me. If you have access to information from tourist department also, you can actually get it, or from any other reference reports, city development report, if they're prepared, you can use those reports as reference. And decadal population growth rate, as I mentioned. So next one, land use information and development. So it is understood some of the towns have land use maps. So based on the land use maps, you can categorize. So what are the different types of land use classification according to the map? And you can give the corresponding area that is compressed. So in case of wherever it is available. So it is also understood in some of the cases it is not. Similarly, there is the next one is details of population and projected growth. So some of the towns have prepared master plans keeping 2025 or 2030 or 2035. So in such cases, you can actually add information to how much population has been considered and what population growth has been considered in the master plan, and the same details can be represented here. And similarly, map depicting the existing land use, which again comprises of different types of land use: residential, commercial, institutional, agriculture, etc. So this is one such example. So coming to technical information. So this technical information of 3A template. So the information, I think most of the. So until this, are there any questions? So everyone even questions on day, please adagandi. Sorry, is my voice breaking? Okay. All right. So coming to the toilets. So this information since hello. Yes, Manohar Garu, please. Okay. So this information since 2014, the focus has been on toilets. So this information must be available to most of the ULBs. That is the number of sanitary toilets, number of insanitary toilets. So under insanitary toilets, split pit, twin pit, dry, pour flush, and toilets that are connected to septic tanks. So these are the different types of insanitary toilets. And so number of toilets connected to septic tanks without soakaway. So similarly, community toilets. So number of households dependent on community toilets and number and location of toilet blocks. So this information you have to specify GPS coordinates as well. And number of function status of the toilet, whether the toilet is of usable state or is it partially functional or fully functional. Similarly, the same information for public toilets and urinals has to be. Urinals has to be filled. And location of open defecation spots. And coming to operation and maintenance. So if ULB has notified user charges for community and public toilets, can be mentioned. And which agency is responsible for operation and maintenance of public and community toilets. If it is ULB is managing, you can mention the same, or if it has been outsourced to any private or third party or SHE, the same can be mentioned. And complaint redressal system. If a public toilet or a community toilet is not functioning, so is there a mechanism where citizens can raise a complaint and where the complaint can be addressed. So if that system exists, you can specify. So if there is any helpline service or directly or any other form of service, so you can specify, you can give specifications of it. Service level benchmark, you can mention what percentage of population is covered has access to toilet. So a map, lastly a map depicting the location of public and community toilets. Coming to institutional and governance. Through institutional framework, so whether if urban local body or municipality have notified sanitation bylaws, and so when was it notified, and what are the different what are the different slabs or services, different service charges for different sanitation services that have been notified. So these details can be mentioned. State sanitation strategy. So this will be a common answer for all the ULBs, whether the state has prepared a state sanitation strategy through post implementation of a national urban sanitation policy. Certain states have created state sanitation strategies. So this can be checked. And then the answer will be uniform for all the ULBs. So and the next one is institutional arrangements. So now in roles and responsibilities of, so you can refer to the institutions here, which institution is responsible for which particular service. So since in our case, multiple organizations often work in sanitation sector, so this information is being asked for. And similarly, if there are any e-governance reforms have been implemented, the same can be mentioned. I mean, whether they're available or not, and what e-governance reforms relevant to sanitation can be mentioned. And coming to human resource capacity management, and under which human resource development. So here you can specify, so details of personnel engaged. So under each institution, so ULB assistant engineer is responsible for this particular activity. Sanitary inspector is responsible for this activity. So you can detail out within the institutions, which particular stakeholder is responsible for which responsibility. And similarly, the outsourcing of staff and services. So if any service have been outsourced, the same can be mentioned for which particular service and which agency. So now, based on the information that you have captured so far, so and you can actually that is population projection for 2025. So you can estimate. Sorry, excuse me. So till this point, do you have any questions? Okay. I see that.
Even Rohit, if required, you can speak in Andhra also, Telugu also, right?
Sure, sir. Hello, Anupriya. Ji, am I audible?
You're audible now, but for the last slide, it was very unclear.
Okay, so no worries. I can actually take you back to previous slide. So which
Thank you so
specific
much.
component? So this section. Hello. So till which part you could not hear, or which part did you miss? Okay, thank you. So ikkada varaku meeku emana questions unte adagandi. So institutional framework emana questions unnaya? All right. So the next thing, so based on the information, so you can analyze the gap that is required. So whether the public toilets and community toilets or adequate considering the population growth in 2025. So now the norm is, what the regular norm is, community toilets within 500 meters of the communities which do not have individual toilets, and in case of public toilets, within 500 meters of radius of every public place there should be a public toilet urinal. So now whatever the gap has been identified and the condition of the infrastructure, the available infrastructure, the same can be documented in a report under this. So lastly, then based on the requirement of toilets, the total fund required can be mentioned here. So as you see the last column, that is funding requirement, total fund required, central share, state share, ULB share. So before we move to the next template, ఇంకొకసారి మిమ్మల్ని మీకు ఏమైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటే అడగండి ఆర్ మెసేజ్ చేయండి. షూర్. నెక్స్ట్ 5 minutes నేను పార్టిసిపెంట్స్ అందరినీ అన్మ్యూట్ చేస్తున్నాను. సో క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళు మాత్రమే మాట్లాడండి, మిగిలిన వాళ్ళు ప్లీజ్ మీ మైక్ ని మ్యూట్ చేసేయండి. హలో. హలో. సో పార్టిసిపెంట్స్ కి ఏమైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటే అడగండి. మనోహర్ గారు ఉంటాయి, రఘు గారు వెళ్ళి వాళ్ళ ఫాదర్ వాళ్ళు ఉంటారా? ఉంటాయి పక్కన, లేకుంటే ఇప్పుడు వీళ్ళ నుంచి అడుగుతుంది, ఎందుకంటే మనకి ఫిబ్రవరి నుంచి వచ్చింది కొత్తగా. So Manohar garu, you can unmute yourself.
మా శంషాద్వి రాస్తాం మేము అంతేలేండి సార్ ఖాళీలు అయిపోయింది.
Yes, Manohar garu, please go ahead with your question. Hello. Hello. Manohar garu, please go ahead with your question.
Manohar garu.
All right. Hello. Manohar garu, you can mute yourself. You can unmute yourself.
I'll do one thing.
All right. So మీకు ఒకవేళ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఏమైనా ఉంటే మెసేజ్ పెట్టండి ఆర్ టెక్స్ట్ చేయండి దీని గురించి, దెన్ we will move to the next component. So this is next template for used water management component. So let me go through section by section. So the first component, that is A component, is common for both the templates. So the general information about slums, maps, land use. So all the points that we discussed during the first template. So it is a common one. So therefore directly I'll get into the technical information. So A component ఏదైతే ఉందో ఈ టెంప్లెట్ లో, సో 3A లో ఏ ఫస్ట్ కాంపోనెంట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అదే ఇక్కడ సేమ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఇక్కడ కూడా అప్లికబుల్ అవుతుంది. సో నేను అందుకని టెక్నికల్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ లోకి డైరెక్ట్ వెళ్తాను. So here in this first section, Manohar garu, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Hello. Manohar garu from Swachha Andhra Corporation. So you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay.
You need to permit us to even to unmute someone. Rohit sir, as you are the host, you need to unmute them.
So actually, I've changed the settings. I've changed the settings so that participants can unmute themselves.
So it's now Manohar garu who can unmute and talk.
Sorry. Okay, so just for time reasons, Manohar garu, do you mind messaging your question?
I don't think it's available.
All right. So the brief description of existing infrastructure. So here you can specify TPs. TPs refer to treatment plants, sewage treatment plants. You can refer how many, if there is any sewage treatment plant, it's one, and then you can refer. You don't have to specify, you don't have to give more information. So this section is only to capture the outline of existing fluid infrastructure. Similarly, fecal sludge treatment plant, and if there is one, and existing sewer network, you can refer to length of sewer network, roughly population covered, and drains. So length of drains, you can probably just you can mention primary, secondary, tertiary drains percentage, and number of cesspool tankers, government or private, and whatever the existing infrastructure has been created. So you can refer to under which scheme has it been funded. If it is UID SSMT or JNNURM or any other state government funding or bilateral agency funded project, so you can specify, and the corresponding costs of the infrastructure. So getting into the next section, here, similarly, you can mention estimated sewage generation in MLD. So 80% of water consumption. So 135 liters per capita, and where you can multiply the population by 85% of 135 to get the sewage generation. Then coming to network coverage. So if present population is covered with sewerage network, and what percentage of population is uncovered. So if you get the one figure, the remaining can be mentioned. And under septage, status of scheduled desludging. So now, so what are the steps that have been taken? So whether scheduled desludging has it been notified, is in operation, or is so whatever the details pertaining to this can be mentioned here. And how many licensed operators are there, and at least if it is being carried out in one part of the town, so the same can be mentioned. The next component is drainage. So number of here you can actually get into the details of drains. That is length of the drains, material of construction, and the drains, width of the drains. That is whether the width of the drain is more than 75 centimeters or not, 0.14 meters. So largely, this is a situation where this has already been explained by Rohit sir. So where we have large drains that actually carry sewage, the wastewater, and then it is often discharged into water body or open land wherever the infrastructure is not there. So such drains, the details can be specified. Similarly, whether the drains are the covered or uncovered, and outfall locations. So wherever the drain is carrying wastewater, and then where it discharges. So a small town can have 5 discharge outfall points. In some cases, it can have 15, or in some cases, it have 10. So those outfall points have to be specified. So this is to give the idea of how to specify in the report. That is the width. You can refer to the width of the drainage, the length, and type of material used. Similarly, so to mention the details of cesspool tankers, numbers, capacity, total capacity of tankers, and if there is any schedule that is available for. And similarly, details of sewerage network, where you can specify diameter of, if sewer network exists, diameter of sewer network and pipe material used. So for outfall locations, make sure you capture the GPS coordinates of it. And now this is if there is used water or wastewater treatment facilities available, you can specify the details. That is technology, capacity, if the treatment plant is currently overutilized or underutilized, quantity of used water treated, if any fecal sludge is being co-treated. In very few cases, this is happening. So if it is, what quantum of fecal sludge is being co-treated. And if there is any reuse that is happening, X amount of treated wastewater is being sold to so-and-so industry. So those details can be mentioned. If sludge is being reused, if biogas is being generated and used. So similarly, for fecal sludge treatment system, if there is any septage treatment facility is available, so quantity of septage is being treated, treatment technology and its capacity, if it is being underutilized or overutilized, and similarly reuse information can be specified. So till now, if there are any questions, you can ask. So we have a question that wastewater from Banu Prasad Garu. Wastewater is not in small ULBs, how to improve? So the entire objective, ఇప్పుడు మనం స్వచ్ఛ భారత్ మిషన్ కింద ఏదైతే చేస్తున్నామో అదంతా స్మాల్స్ లో వేస్ట్ వాటర్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ సిచ్యువేషన్ ఇంప్రూవ్ చేయడానికే చేస్తున్నాం. స్కీమ్ కానీ ఫండింగ్ కానీ ఇప్పుడు ఇదంతా అదే దీంట్లో జరుగుతుందండి. Information. So if there are any questions, please message or raise your hand. Okay. So coming to operation and maintenance, if the facilities are in operation, so again, which agency is responsible for it, and what are the user charges that are being collected for desludging, conveyance and disposal, and what is the O&M cost of the treatment facility, and what is the cost recovery? So cost recovery can be calculated, of course, based on whatever the charges, whatever money that is required for O&M of treatment plant, and whatever user charges is being collected. Based on that, cost recovery can be calculated. Similarly, the similar information for if there is sewerage network and treatment facility available, so which agency is maintaining it, and what is the household sanitation tariff if anything is being collected, and conservancy tax if there is any monthly tax that is being again collected as a part of property tax, and again O&M cost of the sewage treatment facility and cost recovery. So the next section, so service level benchmarks. So this service level benchmarks, as you know, it's not old. It's not a new concept. So in 2008, Ministry has launched different service level benchmarking indicators. So these indicators to be calculated, that is coverage of sewerage network. So the information has to be captured in this way. For implementation of project, that is current existing status, whatever is the current status of the town, infrastructure status in the town, that can be mentioned here. after implementation of the project. So once you prepare the DPR, so you have, so then you'll probably, so as Rohit sir has mentioned, so just taking an example, that at least 50% of the population to be covered by sewerage network. So now, if let's say that your project permits you to cover 70% of the population by sewerage network, for instance. So now this is what you are aiming for, and this is what the DPR is being prepared. So ideally, the answer here would be after the implementation of the project, that is 70%. So collection of efficiency of sewerage network, adequacy of sewage treatment capacity, quality of sewage treatment. So now SLB indicators, so there is a document that is available on service level benchmarking indicators. So that document can be referred to in detail, even to calculate every indicator as mentioned here. So you may not find the indicators for scheduled desludging and notified tariff for desludging. So this you have to specify. And if there is any tariff that is being levied for desludging. So coming to maps again, so similar to that of toilets here. So if a map, if there is a map that is already available in case of existing sewerage network, or so the same can be uploaded. So the map which can depict the existing network coverage and the households that are dependent on on-site systems, and the town or the part of the town if that is dependent on or where scheduled desludging is being carried out. So these details. So this is the reference of such map. So where you can see sewerage of the town is completely seen here. So coming to, so till here, are there any questions? Sir, I see that. So, sir, it is if there is no information. So I think this a question on. So slums ekkadaithe unnayo, prati urban local body ki ekkada slums unnayane vishayam aithe telustadi. Whether it is assistant engineer avvanivandi lekapothe adi UB knowledge lo ఏ areas lo slums ఉన్నాయి అని. సో ఆ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ తో గూగుల్ మ్యాప్ యూస్ చేసి, సో పాలిగాన్ ఫీచర్ ఉంటుంది, దాన్ని ఒకవేళ మీరు అలా క్లిక్ చేస్తే ఎక్కడెక్కడైతే ఈ ఒక ప్లేస్ లో స్లమ్ ఉంది, ఇంకొక ప్లేస్ లో స్లమ్ ఉంది, దాన్ని మీరు పాలిగాన్ యూస్ చేసి దాని ఏరియా ఏంటి అనేది క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. అండ్ స్లమ్స్ ఎక్కడున్నాయి అనేది అది పూర్తిగా లోకల్ నాలెడ్జ్. మ్యాప్స్ లేకపోతే యుఎల్బి హ్యాస్ టు టెల్ ఎక్కడ స్లమ్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఎక్కడ లేవు అని. So again, coming to regulatory framework. So again, you can see the similarity in 3A template. So whether municipal sanitation bylaws, so whether the bylaws have been notified or not, whether to collect, so if there is sewerage network or if there is desludging fee for all sanitation sewage services, whether the user fee has been notified or not. And similarly, state sanitation strategy, this we have already discussed. State will let you know that whether strategy is available or not. And coming to roles and responsibilities for dealing with sanitation sewerage services. So again, this is his place. So for example, if we take Gujarat for instance, so in Gujarat, you have Gujarat Water Supply Sewerage Board, Gujarat Urban Development Corporation and ULB. So working or taking responsibility of sewerage services in different contexts. So similarly, which agencies are responsible for provision of sewerage services or entitled with responsibility have to be mentioned here. If it is PhD or ULB or whichever the agencies are. Similarly, implementation of e-governance. So if there are any e-governance reforms related to wastewater septic management have been implemented. You can refer to that. So till here, do we have any questions? Please mute your microphones. దయచేసి మీ microphones mute చేయండి.
Left అయిపోయినా వీడియో వీడియో
And coming to asset enhancement, again, details of personnel engaged in sanitation services along with roles and responsibilities. Which particular engineer or which particular, so who is actually dealing with the services so that this information can be captured. Similarly, outsourcing of staff and services, if any service have been outsourced to private agency, the same thing can be mentioned. So now, based on the information, so you can come to a conclusion of what is the existing situation and what infrastructure and what is missing. So now 30% of the town is covered sewerage network, and now, so in a town, ideally, if we say that, let's say that if there is only 30% of the population have access to services, and now 70%. So you can specify how the 70% that through sewerage network we are going to capture 70 or 80%, and remaining population will where using co-treatment facility they can be FS can be treated, and wherever the septic tanks are there without soak pits, so soak pits will be implemented. So based on design like Swachh Bharat design principles, which Rohit sir has mentioned. So now whatever the gap is there, so the same can be, the gap in the infrastructure can be mentioned. The gap related to sewer network, IND network, sewage treatment infrastructure. So and finally, based on the costs and thumb rules that have been given, so you can calculate. So what is the total? So what is the estimated estimated budget that is required to address the issues, and then you can specify in the table, which is central share, state share, ULB share. So at the end, so as you all know, we have this ODF and water plus protocols. So you can specify by which year so you target to reach achieve these two protocols. So any questions, sir? So yeah, the available is to be considered. The available 2011 census data is to be considered. So for population projection, you can use the method to analyze the gap in the infrastructure. You can take 2011 as reference, but still you need to arrive at what is the current population. If you have latest population, you can refer to it. Otherwise, you will have to do the projections, as I said initially.
Even Rohit, for their information,
yes,
each survey need not to go for population projection. Let them only take at rate of 2.31%, and later on in our Swachhata portal that provision is there. Why to put everybody to work out that approximately whatever state growth rate there, with that also it will work. Make it simple.
Sure, sir. Yeah, you can take 2.3% as, so 2.3% annual population growth rate తీసుకొని calculate చేసుకోండి. Yes, sir, it can be taken. So to simplify your process, So this has been given. Since City Sanitation Action Plan is it is an attempt to understand the existing infrastructure gap and then to estimate how much fund is required. So this is not a precisely carried out plan. So yes, to simplify the process, ఇది మీకు 0.3% తీసుకోండి. లేదంటే different types of projection methods ఉన్నాయి. But so అందరినీ ఆలోచించుకొని చెప్తున్నా, ఇది సజెస్ట్ చేస్తున్న మెథడ్. Are there any questions?
Ask if any query, any doubt. Here, don't hesitate. We are here just like to work in a tutorial manner rather than it is not any workshop and other thing. Just if you have any doubt, any problem, if any point where you are facing while preparing, it will be difficulty in doing that CSAP. If you are going to prepare, please let us know. We will try to give a solution to that. इसमें आशीष ऐसे करो, इवन रोहित चंद्र, that 3A and 3B both annexures you put, and after that one CSAP which is prepared, that also should be put here, so that will be guiding them. And from state side, who is attending? State mission director side?
We do have Manohar and me, Sunanda, Anupriya.
Acha, to Manohar ji, what I want to emphasize that we are forwarding, we are putting in first of all, you have to prepare one WhatsApp group of cities and then upload there this annexure 3A and 3B, and also one CSAP already prepared with our help. We will put it there. That will provide a lot of guidance. And second step you do, maybe you constitute 2-3 people's group at your level, or maybe including yourself also, or including some engineers, and let me in touch with our team. So we will empower in such a way that in case of other ULB, when they are working, there will not be any problem. And do not hesitate in putting any query whatsoever, small or big, it is there. And whenever required, we can come for half an hour again for doubt clearance session, right?
Sure, sir. Sure, I'll
हाँ, इसको मनोहर जी आप इसको एक बार जस्ट लाइन अप करिए, एंड just once WhatsApp is created, maybe today itself, we will put 3A, 3B, and also one set of prepared CSAP for some other state. So that will give a lot of guidance, right?
We will start doing up with 1 or 2 ULBs, sir, so that we'll come up with more doubts and more questions. So we will definitely reach back to either Rohit ji or somebody else to you.
नहीं तो इसको 2 तरीके से करिए, do in 2 way.
Okay.
Let all ULB start collecting and filling up information, because many points are there, only some general information to be collected from ULB and filled up. That information sometimes searching also may take 2-3 times in few cases. So it is important that you allow all ULB to collect information and fill up in 3A and 3B. Between identify 2 ULB. Our people, this Rohit Chandagri will be there. Within 2 to 3 days, he will help to get it cleared. 2 CSAP will be ready in your state. After that, they can further guide other ULB to do that. And beach may, wherever required, we will also be there for doubt clearance session, right?
Sure, sir.
तो इस तरह से करिए. मेरी समझ से today is, I think it is 12. By 22nd, we will be able to complete all, right?
Sure, sir. Sure, we'll support.
ठीक है.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my colleague Ashish will give a presentation. So more than a presentation, he will just give how a filled CSAP would looks like. Over to Ashish.
No, Rohit sir, can you give access, post access to?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Hello. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, go
Please
ahead.
yeah, please confirm my voice. You are hearing my voice, and my screen is also visible to you, है ना?
Yes, it's
And this
visible. It's visible.
you can see this Annexure 3A.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is an example. So first, before beginning, I want you to know that Annexure 3A is mandatory for all ULBs, and Annexure 3B is for those ULBs which has population less than 1 lakh. And we are presenting a case of Uttarakhand, and it is a small ULB, Munnigireti near Rishikesh. So how CSAP will look like, what type of supporting documents we need to provide, and whatever the information we are asking in the formats about existing infrastructure, what you need to fill, and what you need to support other documents. Hello? If there isn't any question, please mute. Yeah. So this is the general. Hello. Mr. Babu, please, if you can mute. Hello.
Please request all other people to please mute your mic. It is creating a lot of disturbance.
Okay.
We have to close it.
Yeah.
So next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Ashish Sharma sir, can you please mute all the participants?
Ashish,
Yeah, I
mute all the participants.
Yeah, I muted. Yeah. Now this is the general information. So you need to fill only the basic details, just a name of the city, district, state name, and number of wards. In geographical description, you can mention this is a coastal area, hilly area, these type of things you need to mention. And as a supporting document where we are asking in 1.c, we are asking for map depicting the administrative boundaries. You need to upload an administrative boundary map. So you can see this is the kind of map you need to provide that in PDF form. It will be supported under column 1.3. So please mention annexure 1A, annexure 1 this, and please upload this word map. And in the demography and growth pattern, we are asking for the year 2025-55. If you have this population projected for this year, please mention. And if you have this decadal population growth rate according to that also. If there is any notified slum, please mention the population and this. And if there isn't any, then your rest of the projected population will become non-slum population. And for floating population, you can contact a tourism department also. So from there, you can easily collect. Or if any recently executed water supply DPR, you can take from that also. There also, okay, what is our floating population considered in this water supply DPR? You can take it from there also. If land use map is available with a particular ULB while preparing the master plan, the ULB must be having land use classification and land use map. So you need to attach this as a supporting document. So you must be collecting some revenues. ULB must be collecting some revenues from the property tax, by property tax, different type of properties from there. So you can mention how much residential properties are there, commercial, institutional, and open area, and a map of that. So this is the land use map. This how the forest area mixed type of building use is shown in this particular ULB, and where are the river body, forest cover, roads, commercial properties, and this is the type of land use. So you can provide that, and this is the distribution of properties in that particular ULB. So you can mention how many number of residential property, institutional, commercial, mixed use. So these are the mere distribution of the properties. So you please provide in that particular column. This is not mandatorily required, this kind of map, but if you have this kind of map, so it will help you to propose the location of public toilets, community toilets. So this is the distribution of properties in the particular ULB that money ki rehti. So you can see how much how the residential properties are distributed and how the commercial and institutional properties are distributed. So by this kind of it will help you to identify the location for this public toilets. So you can see a lot of institutional properties are here and here, their club. So accordingly, it will help you to take the decisions. So up till now, I have covered the general information, which is similar for both the formats. And right now, there's technical information. So you need to provide access to toilet ward-wise information of that entire ULB and attach it with the attach it with this document. So under 3 columns, you need to provide this information: individual toilets, community toilets, public toilets. So you need to provide details like number of incinerator, number of seats per block, functional status, what is the functional state of that particular toilet, and for all 3 types, you need to provide these details. If there is any newly identified open defecation spot, please mention. And for the same facilities, you need to provide the O&M, operation and maintenance details, notified user charges. You must be collecting some charges from the users per use, such as 2 rupees, 5 rupees. So whatever the notified charges, please mention it over here. And person responsible for collecting from community and public toilets, how you are maintaining. So responsible agency for O&M, in-house or outsource. So details like this. Here it is written Vikas Selvan and outsource for 2 years. Under this SPM 2.0, you need to outsource this for 5 years, but this is the existing data. So it is mentioned it like that. For complaint redressal system, what is the complaint redressal system? So ULB is mentioning SPM portal, Swachha toll-free number is also there, and raise their manual mechanism, that is complaints are filed in a register also. So this is the existing. Service level benchmark, access to toilet 100%. So as per the current population, they have achieved 100%. Each and everybody in the ULB has access to toilets. So you need to provide in the gap for the population 2025. For the year 2025, whatever the requirements of this public toilet and community toilets, you need to provide that. And the location of public and community toilets, you need to provide in a map. So in a map, you can mark all the public toilets and community toilets in the Google Earth platform and get a PDF from there. So these are the supporting documents: access to toilet ward-wise information. So details are like that. Notified user charges, you provide that kind of detail. And number of public urinals, public toilets, who is maintaining them. So these are the supporting documents. Along with whatever you have filled their data. So these are the just supporting documents. You need to provide it along with it. After part B, we comes to C, institutional governance, and D, capacity enhancement. So in 5th part, under the clause 5A, you need to the municipal sanitation bylaws. They are notified, and if they are notified, you need to provide that details. State sanitation strategy, it is to be provided by the state. What is their strategy? If it is available, please provide it. And under institutional arrangement, you need to provide roles and responsibilities of the institutions who are dealing with sanitation services. Institutions, suppose there is an agency who is planning, and if there is any other agency who is implementing them, who is the O&M agency, who is collecting charges. So these type of details you need to provide under 5.B. Many times 5.B and 6A are confusing. So here you need to provide roles and responsibilities of the agency, and you need to provide the details of human resource engaged in the sanitation services under 6A. If there is any governance reforms or new reforms undergoing in your ULB, you please provide the details of it in 5.C. So if we are talking about this particular ULB, so there is a GIS survey is going on for property tax for improving the property tax collection system, and later on they are planning to upload the sanitation services on the same platform. Sorry. So please provide that kind of information. So here in 6A, you need to provide human resource development. So the personnel who are engaged in sanitation services, who is reporting to whom, and what are their roles and responsibilities relating to sanitation service. This will guide you, or guide to analyze you what is the strength of ULB, and what are the services and how much workload you are dealing with for these sanitation services. And if there is any outsourcing of staff is done in the particular ULB, please mention that details also. So these are the annexures, municipal sanitation bylaws, details of staff of NPP. So they have provided ke, executive officer, junior engineer, some workers are there, sanitation inspector is also there. To provide details like that. And this is the organizational chart. So from here we can analyze who is responsible for what kind of work. And for institutional responsibilities, which I mentioned in 5.B, you need to provide. So details like that you need to provide. Ki jaise Pejal Nigam is there, Jal Sansthan is there. Some responsibilities are up to ULB also. Ki they are planning, implementing O&M and collection of charges. So please provide details like this table. This presentation will be shared in the group which state is making. So after this VC, all the presentation will be shared. Under the gap analysis 7A, 7B, so you need to provide analyzed whatever the gaps you have analyzed for 2025 population. So there, whatever the population you have projected, so for achieving this service level benchmark, that is 100% access to toilets. So please propose toilets to meet that service level benchmark. And also the condition for the existing infrastructure. So there may be some requirement of doors, there may be some requirement of other facilities to improving the services. So if here they are mentioning the existing infrastructure is newly constructed and in good operational condition. So you need not to provide any rehabilitation type of work. On the gap, they are mentioning only 2 public toilets are required and this number of seats are required. And that too, they are taking it to aspirational toilets. So accordingly, as per the aspirational toilet, which we have mentioned in the SPM 2.0 guidelines, so accordingly, please project the fund for this number of toilets, and whatever the distribution, which is 33, 50, 33, and 17 distribution percentages provided in the SPM 2.0 guidelines, please distribute this much of fund accordingly and come up with some DPR. Now, this 3A is covered, and in the last slide, we will thoroughly check this funding part also. So, since both the annexure 3A and 3B have same general information is same in both the formats. So here I will begin with only technical information, from technical information only. This is annexure technical information part 3B. So in the 4.A, you need to provide brief description of the treatment plants. About existing infrastructure, you need to provide the brief information. Just sewage treatment plants, only one is there, and with this much of capacity, no FSTP is there, this much of sewer network is there, there are drains also, and one government cesspool tankers, there are 2. One is government, one is private. This is the funding agency, Uttarakhand Jal Sansthan and Jal Nigam. These are the funding agency. Whatever the population we have projected in the part A, so estimated sewage generation. So as per CPHEEO manual, you have estimated the sewage generation. So whatever the water supplied in the ULB, that is 135 LPCD in all the cases. In general case, we have mentioned in CPHEEO 2013 manual. So 80% of the water supplied to the particular per capita is taken as sewage generated. So accordingly, please project and provide it in MLD from year wise. In 5.B, you need to provide the network coverage. Please mention it in percentage only. Presently, population covered with sewage network this much, and uncovered with sewage network this much. Details of septic scheduled desludging. So scheduled desludging is there as and when required. They are mentioning, scheduled. It is like that. The person or the project from the household, they came to them and raised the query. So that is how they are maintaining. And for the drainage details, you need to provide these number of drains and drains are there, and in the rest 40% it is covered. And this details like from 75 to 100 centimeter, these type of terrains are there, whether it is covered or uncovered, lined or unlined, these type of details. For outfall location, you please provide major outfall location. Need not to provide each and every outfall location. You please provide these are the major outfall location, and majority of sewage or sewage domestic waste water flow goes to these outfall locations. So how you provide? So these are the location of outfalls marked on Google Earth, and these are the coordinates. So you can see how they have prepared the supporting document. Just click the photo, provide the coordinates and name that particular outfall location, and accordingly provide a map. Later on, you can upload this on the portal also. For network coverage, whatever the wards are covered with C1 network, mark those wards, and you can see this much of area is covered with C1 network, and this is to be covered with C1 network. To entire cover for entire covering each and every household with the C1 network, so this much area you need to come up with in your gap. 5.C and 5.D, you need to provide details like for treatment facility, used water. There is a STP, and they have provided details like treatment and technologies, MBBR capacity is this much, current utilization is under, and there is no septage co-treated, so not available. And they are not recently reusing this treated used water, sludge or biogas. Any of reuse is not available there, not going on there, so they left it blank. So if FSTP is there, please provide the same type of details for that too. And the O&M part of the above mentioned facility, you need to provide it over here also. Okay, who is the responsible agency? For how many years the O&M has been awarded? What are the user charges for desludging and conveyance? So this is mentioned in their sanitation bylaws also, depending on the property rate. They are collecting 1,000, 2,000, 2,500. So you need to provide that kind of details. This is a picture of STP already in place. So you can see it is a newly constructed under NMCG scheme. So there is no rehabilitation type of work also. In service level benchmark, you need to, these are the identical service level benchmark. And you need to provide before implementation of project and after the implementation of project. Whatever the gaps you are identifying and preparing a DPR or preparing a project for, so please accordingly, just say they are mentioning before implementation 70% is there, and if we cover the entire population, cover the population which is mentioned in the gap, then you will achieve 100% service level benchmark. So accordingly, please provide these details also. This you need to fill after analyzing the gap and projecting. After analyzing the gap, so ward number 8, 9, 10. Here they have analyzed this much of, if this much of population is covered, then we will be able to cover the entire population with C1 network. So this number of population you need to cover. Existing infrastructure is in newly constructed, so it is already in good condition. Based on the primary survey, you need not to go for detailed topographic survey. Based on the primary survey, they come up with 9 kilometers receiver is laid. They will treatment part, the existing infrastructure is already over capacity. The current utilization, current generation is 4.6 and they have 5 MLD capacity. So as per that, you can mention. These are summarized ones. Population 2025 to be covered to achieve 100% sewage network. This much of population to be covered. STP is already in adequate capacity. They have provided 2 public toilets along with urinals. If they provide, these are the locations for smart public toilet they may mention. So this kind of map you can also prepare. So these are the 2 public toilets they have projected and they come up with. And this is the tentative cost, whatever the per seat requirement we have mentioned the funds. So this is their cost. So accordingly, they have distributed what is the central share, what is the state share. And for C1 network cost, they have taken this cost from nearby ULB, which has recently executed this C1 network. So they have taken it from there, 9,000 per capita. So you can also take it from there, or otherwise we have mentioned in our presentation also na, कि मतलब 3,000 to say 4,000 we can take, and we have shared this Gujarat details also in the previous presentations we have given. So मतलब it came around 6,000 to 7,000. Since it is a hilly town, so it is bit on higher side. So 9,000 they have taken and projected accordingly. So this is much from my side. If there is any query, you can ask. Hello. Yeah, somebody has messaged me कि please mail this model CSAP so that we can refer. We will mail you, or Rohit will mail you in the message you in the WhatsApp group also. We will provide you 2-3 CSAPs of different states, so you can take help from that there also.
Sure, Ashish. We'll please share us, sir, so that we'll communicate with all the ULBs. We'll ask them to fill the data accordingly. And wherever they see if they have any questions or they are not able to fill any of the information, we'll try to get back to you and Rohit.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So if there isn't any question, so we can conclude this meeting also.
Sure, sir.
Yes.
Create the group as was suggested by Chaurash, sir. We'll create the groups accordingly with the help of Swachha Andhra Corporation, the nodal agency here. We'll get it done.
So just like Sir said, so please create a WhatsApp group with all the relevant people from the ULBs and the people who will be involved in preparation of CSAP. And if there are any questions, and like as you have questions, so please always feel free to drop a message or call, and we'll try to sort then and there itself.
Sure.
And thank you everyone for participating in the session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you on behalf of everybody.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, Ashish sir and Chaurash sir, Rohit Kakar sir. Thank you.